Call to order the Finance, Property, and Supply Committee of the Littlestown Area Board of School Directors. This is a live, in-person meeting open to the public in accordance with the Sunshine Act. By participating in this meeting, you are consenting to the recording, retention, and future viewing of this meeting. Carrie, could you please do roll call?
Nick Lovell.
Here.
Brian Lawyer.
Present.
Stephen Yerger.
Here. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance and hold the sign. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We now, we now recognize members of the public who have signed up to provide a comment as stipulated in policy 903. When your name is called, please approach the podium and state your name, confirm that you are a resident or taxpayer of the district, and the topic of discussion for the record. Please direct your comments to the board as a whole and not to an individual. We ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. This privilege may be interrupted, revoked, or recessed. The meeting may be called by the chair if the speaker does not observe a reasonable decorum in orderly conduct. And we have Suzanne Johnson.
I think everyone knows me. I'm a resident, taxpayer, and parent, unlike most of the people that stand up here to speak. In reading the substitute school security officer contract, I have several questions and concerns. Will this be fully covered by the one-year grant being used for the second full-time SSO position, or are additional funds needed for this contract? What other options were considered beyond this and protective contract? At the time the June 4th Finance Committee meeting occurred, options were discussed for the full-time SSO that included 2 contractors as alternatives to an LASD employee, and protective was the most expensive option at that point. G-Force was willing to add onto their current contract for about the same amount as the estimate for hiring an LASD employee. In addition to already providing the one full-time armed security officer, G-Force provides unarmed security officers at extracurricular events at a rate of $30.50 per hour, which is less than the rate in this new and protective contract. So was adding on to the existing G-Force contracts considered for this substitute SSO position? Why is the substitute SSO contract limited to protection of property, and specifically only Littlestown High School? What about the protection of students and staff? And what if there's an emergency at Maple Avenue or Alloway Creek? I would hope that our LASD SSO would be expected to protect not just property, but students, staff, and staff anywhere within the small radius that comprises the LASD campus. So why wouldn't the substitute be expected to do the same? Further, the district's SSO is an armed security officer, so why doesn't the substitute contract also require that the officer be armed? Further, I see tonight's finance presentation includes a request for an additional part-time administrative assistant at a cost of $21,000. As is already included in the approved 2024-2025 budget. We so often hear that brand new requests were, quote, already in the budget, which is puzzling to me at times. The most concerning example of this is the extension of the interim superintendent and renewing of the administration contracts a year before they were set to expire. At the August 19th board meeting, a board member sought to correct quote-unquote misinformation circulating around since May. He indicated that the contracts the board approved on the May 20th board meeting included $60,000 in administration raises and $35,000 for extending the interim superintendent. Thus, he confirmed the public statement I made in May that this resulted in a total expense of nearly $100,000. So not misinformation, he was actually confirming what I said. But he indicated this was already in the budget that they were approving that night. A budget that I note included a 1% tax increase and planned spending exceeding revenue by $1.3 million. This board member also claimed that the interim superintendent was necessary. However, LASD could have done what Bermudian Springs is doing by having the assistant superintendent serve as their substitute superintendent until a new superintendent's hired. at no additional cost, which is exactly what I suggested in May. Thus, the fact is that the interim superintendent contract and administration raises weren't necessary at the time. And had these contracts not been approved, there would have been nearly $100,000 available to use for the ACTI investment, which had universal support from the school board. So instead of a 1% tax increase, maybe you would have asked for a 0.5%. But also you could have done what Upper Adams has done. They didn't increase their taxes at all. They looked at reassigning funds from other assigned funds like the Technology Reserve Fund to make up their shortcomings. Anyway, my opinion, now I'm moving from fact to opinion, is that you guys on the Finance Committee and other school members don't seem to have the ability or the interest to ask the questions necessary to assume fiscal responsibility for the district. But, you know, this is my opinion, and I've stated plenty of facts here. You don't have to take my word for it. Check for yourself. Listen to the May 20th and August 19th meetings. Read the reference documents. Look to see how Bermudian Springs handled their superintendent vacancy. Look how Upper Adams avoided raising their taxes. Don't rely on what the interim superintendent or school board president or anyone else on the board wants to tell you. Do your own research, as I have done. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Larry, we have a presentation for us.
Yes. I just want to share information regarding substitute security services. Provided a recommendation for consideration. In the event that our safety officer would be sick, unable to work, we would have an option to have a safety officer fulfill those obligations on that particular day. So this is a contract with them protective for the entire school district and our students, faculty, and staff, community members that might be on campus in the event that our safety officer would be unable for that particular day. Any questions?
Brian?
Yes, Dr. Miller, I have a couple questions. So, say our internal person is sick, they or wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and they're sick, they call you. What's kind of the protocol for securing an unprotected person?
Similar to what we do with the teacher, calls in sick. We have a service that we utilize. Many years ago, they used to call the assistant principal, who would then rally off a list of substitutes. So it would be something similar to that, where I would contact them protective and let them know we need other services, and they would then dispatch a safety officer there on campus.
Is it a guarantee?
Well, I think nothing's a guarantee. I think we face that as well with the teachers and substitutes. You know, depending on what's available, and that's something I can't guarantee.
And the company is based in Hallam.
Correct.
And so are most of the people they were pulling from that area with that community?
I really couldn't answer to that as to where their safety officers actually reside. I think I'll just speak to that, because if I say anything other than that, it's just be speculation.
You
What's
good?
the end date for this agreement? Is there?
It ends this school year?
it ends
Yeah, I
at the
think it
end
was
of this
a
year?
yearly
It's just a single
agreement
year.
for this, a single year.
With option to renew.
So the scope of work would not change from a full-time employee to a part-time substitute. Scope's the same.
Scope's the same, qualifications the same,
All the issues of performance.
Correct.
Contract, all that is all the same.
would be all the same.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
athletic feasibility study. So we just received this late Friday, so we just were able to review that today as a team and added it to the agenda here this afternoon. We met around a little after lunch between Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Bell, myself, and then Ms. Young, athletic director. So we went down through, we made a list of wants versus needs through the various options that were presented. And I'm going to let Ms. Young speak to that aspect of it. I'll have it up on the screen so we can refer to some of the stuff she's going to go over, but there's also a packet in front of you labeled the feasibility study.
Okay. Thomas said we went over this afternoon, and I'm in favor of option 1 for the baseball field. Needs being demolition, field renovation, backstop, ball control netting, outfield baseball fencing, accessible pathways, and scoreboard. The wants would be a defined warning track, dugouts, bullpens, batting cages, press box, storage building, bleachers, and lighting. I am also in favor of option 1 for the softball field. Needs being demolition, field renovation, backstop retaining, outfield baseline fencing, press box storage, parking, accessible pathways, and scoreboard. And wants would be bleachers and lighting. And I also prioritize the north and east practice fields, as well as a scoreboard for the stadium. And the needs for the fields is regarding regrading and crowning, and utility location, and wants would be lighting. And I look to you guys to review my priorities for the athletic department.
So, yeah, we'll just go back down through one more time through the baseball.
Let's go through the list again, so Thomas, you can put the actual picture of option 1 up.
Right here. So this is the page 16 is the cost, and then the picture following it is the relationship to those costs. Everybody can see that.
Split screen.
So as you start your list, if you could do that slower so Tom can kind of point out
Okay.
on that diagram what kind of looking at if need be.
So for the baseball field, the needs is the demolition,
Which,
Excuse me.
the field renovation, the backstop with the ball control netting, the outfield baseball fencing, accessible pathways, and scoreboard. And wants would be a defined warning track. Dugouts, bullpens and batting cages, a press box and storage building, bleachers, and lighting.
You'll see in the outfield what looks like bleachers. Those don't exist. This was an older picture. As I remember it 100 years ago when I came here to play football and baseball against Littlestown. Anyway, those bleachers obviously are not there. The shot